Hello everyone, Burb here. I've had a lot of time today to think about how I want to start approaching independent training, mathematics, and strategy, and all that content I try to help you out with. And I think before that, I need to get this video out. If you don't know, this is a scratchpad video. I reserved this particular PowerPoint theme for times when I just need to talk genuinely about a topic that's important to me. And this one is important, and I find that structure would basically just hinder that. So instead, I'm going to try to talk one on one and go from there. Okay, so today I will be talking about independent training. I will do some UMA stuff and trying to get you started with it, but also I do want to talk about how we need to approach this particular topic a little bit differently as a community too, and how there's a lot of danger with this because the data set for this is so small. This is not like a new scenario where we've had 3 years of JP content to look back on. This is brand new for both us and them, and thus there needs to be a ton of testing on this before we can really make any conclusions. And for you as a viewer, the thing that you can take out of this is not only not just about, like, I guess, create content creator ethics for us. This is about your discernment of information and basically taking things with a grain of salt and when to find value in things, even when it's not 100% certain. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to go over today. Like I said, this is going to be unstructured. Gonna yap a little bit. It's fine, but I'm going to try my best to stay on topic. So the long and short of it is I'm going to wait a few days to start doing the independent training mathematics stuff. I've talked with a lot of people, especially on Loop Accord. Um, they don't believe their data set is big enough. I would agree with them. Their data set is growing rapidly, and they have an immense and an incredible effort trying to get enough auto run runs to get to a point at which I can start doing analysis on it. And basically, the floodgates, people are starting to do it now. There's CCs that are doing it now, and that's perfectly fine. Just do note that there is a lot of feels-based analysis and just speculation going on at the moment, and that has value. Just be careful that you don't make it your own doctrine. That's the thesis of this video. If there's one thing to take from it, that is what I think you should take for it. Is just wait for the data. We'll get there, but it's going to take a little bit. Okay. So first, let's talk about some useful stuff. Here's how you get started with it. Here's some stuff that I've noticed. Again, I'm not going through any numbers today because I don't want to talk about the numbers when they're not finalized. But PAL cards do give more skill points. They do finish their chains because they're actual taps that the game decides to do. So they are very powerful. I would limit yourself to two at most. The very good ones are Light Hello, Tazna, Throne, and Aoi Kyrian for your free-to-play players as well. If you're, this is going to be mainly talking about Grand Live as well, but just note that the other three scenarios give you generally less points overall, so you have to have a stronger deck in order to hit that SS. And this is what this topic is really going to be talking about. So, Light Hello, pretty much a must use in Grand Live. It just gives too many stats as well as too many skill points. The other two, generally, I would say you would borrow Throne for a lot of your runs, but again, there's still a lot of testing. Note that our Light Hello actively lowers your stats in auto, and it's called Homeless Hello in the Lupa community because it literally just takes up a slot and actively lowers it over pretty much any other card in the game. So really a 0 LB copy of Light Hello is much better than the R copy, especially in auto run. After that, you're trying to get a balance of trying to get as many skill points as possible while really boosting up two particular stats. And the way you increase stats are basically your stat bonus on your cards, your initial stats on your card. This is the big one. Your number of races that you do. If you don't race on a turn, it slightly increases your stats. If you race, it slightly trades off some stats for SP. And then after that, that's pretty much it. It's just your parents, your blue sparks, and then the actual bonus of your character, like Ogre Cap has 20% speed, 10% power, for example. After that, you're trying to basically greed for as much SP as possible. So your SP bonus on cards gives you more SP. Your scenario link cards give you both stats and SP, making them very powerful. And then, of course, more races equals more SP as well. Note that specialty priority doesn't really do anything, as we're finding out, at least from initial tests and chain events, don't seem to be happening on cards outside of PAL cards. Also note that for PAL cards, we have not seen a end of year one proc at all. At least I haven't in any of the tests, the test results that I've seen from anybody. So you're not going to get like tail held high from Tazna, which is a big one. The third thing that I've noticed personally is that if you have more than two cards of a type, there seems to be diminishing returns. Now, that diminishing returns may be offset, especially on speed, because you get more rating from higher stuff. But just note that if you run like 4 or 5 cards, you're not going to get the same numbers as if you just run two. But that may be valuable because you're trying to stack those two particular stats. So it kind of depends on what you is. A lot of this is going to be have to be done in testing. You can generate stamina. You have to run both power and stamina cards. And I know Ray put something out where you have to like trick it with stamina. That's not necessarily um, everything. That's not the whole picture, which is understandable. Basically, the stamina stuff that just stamina cards give you isn't enough to counteract the fact you just generally don't get that much stamina in the Grand Life scenario. It's really as simple as that. It just doesn't give you stamina. So in order to do that, you have to supplement that with power cards that also have stamina bonus, and then you can actually get your stamina rather high if you go and combine pretty much every single method of getting stamina. The problem is that in general, speed is given by the scenario, so it's a lot easier to just go and pump your speed to hit that SS and leave the stamina around 600. So it's just a matter of efficiency. Generally, going for stamina is just a little bit tough. It is possible. It's just you have to have a much stronger deck than just running speed. Also, Grand Life does seem to get the most rating. They call it Grand Lupa now because the auto runs for it are generally a lot easier than the other three. But the other three do have value, and the people who have very strong decks can still run it, I believe, in Unity Cup, and I think they can still do it in URA. But again, I have not tested it at all, honestly. Let's go over the most useful cards. I think this will be the most useful section. If you have it, a 3LB plus copy of Agnes Tachyon is very useful. It has Scenario Link and SP bonus. That's what you're looking for. However, if you have 2LB or minus, you're better off just using Tachyon Wit. Tachyon Wit has Scenario Link and a SP bonus one as well. The whole point of running Tachyon is the fact that it has more SP bonus, and if you don't have more SP bonus than the Wit card, just use the Wit card. It works out perfectly fine. Auto is a completely different video game. For speed cards, the other one that's really ridiculously good is Fuku. Initial stats are incredibly powerful, and it gives you initial stats not only in speed, but in every single other stat. Otherwise, you can run Summer Mario pretty much after that. It's just the best speed card that you run. Do note the one that you've basically been, I guess, I'm not going to say clickbaited, but baited into is the fact that Kidis in Black doesn't really work very well. The reason is that her strength is specialty priority, which is not very useful. For free-to-play stuff, you're probably better off with Sweep Tosho. It is basically Kidison Black with bonus skill points because it's basically the same training as it, and it doesn't care about the fact it has lower specialty priority. If you do need to pump speed for rating, you run Shinko Wendy or you run Toshin Jordan. Two different reasons for it. Pure speed output is Shinko Wendy, and if you need more power, you run Toshin Jordan for the initial stats as well. For stamina, the only reason to run a stamina card is if you're really trying to boost it or you're trying to hit exactly 600 or more, you can run a solo stamina card. The best option is Super Creek for the pure stamina output, or you can run if you're free to play, you can run either a high LB copy of MLB of Mayano Top Gun for SP bonus, or you can even run the concentration card. It's actually the half anniversary card. Sorry, Suzuka Stamina. It gives you 55 initial stamina, and that basically hits you 600 right off the bat. But these are basically to try to hit 600 at this point. Until further testing shows that we can hit 1100. I don't know if there's any benefit to running a bunch of these stamina cards. Just makes things a little bit more difficult for you. For power cards, there's a lot of options. Bourbon Power is actually kind of insane because she has the scenario link along with a bunch of power output. If you need stamina, you run the Marvy power card. The most powerful power card, in my personal opinion, for free to plays is the Agnes Digital one. If you haven't tried this yet, I would see how it feels, of course. Try to do your own testing, but she has SP bonus and her power output is actually not too terrible. For some other cards, if you do have a high LV copy of El Condorpasa, her friendship bonus is actually really, really high, so she actually does get some good SP bonus, as well as she basically has like one SP bonus in terms of stuff. It's slightly behind, but the friendship bonus helps a lot with the power output as well. But this is for pure power, and of course, Daikaku Helios has SP bonus. For guts, if you're running guts, you're kind of just trying to max it. You're kind of running a 4 or 5 guts deck with it. With a supplementary speed and like hello card, stuff like that. And from there, you're kind of just running a Rara for the SP bonus. Remember, this card has SP bonus, and this one, Yukino Bijin Guts, has the bonus for stats. She has just the higher stats in the free to play realm for the game for that. But I don't necessarily suggest like hybrid guts builds. It doesn't seem to work out too well. It's just the stats are too spread out. For Wit cards, Festa is absolutely taking the Lupa by storm because she has very good hints, but also because she has SP bonus, and we don't care about the fact she has 0, especially priority. After that, you pretty much just run the the Wit SSR that you have. That is the strongest, but also do note that Bourbon Wit is actually really good and actually kind of functions as a pseudo half speed card because she has that speed bonus, and also the scenario link boosted up enough that she actually has decent output in terms of stats. Gonna grab a drink real quick. For PAL cards, Light Hello is pretty much a must. If there's one thing that I think is going to be pretty close to unchanging, is we're going to be running Light Hello in the auto decks. Tazna is actually pretty good as well. I have not had a Tazna run where I've missed concentration, but I'm sure that you can. You know, it's a 50-50 Sanagi-san. I bet you can miss it, honestly. Otherwise, Throne gives you probably the most rating in the game, at least from iPad, besides maybe Fuku. But Throne also has a ton of good hints. It has Prudence for the fronts, and it has Full Throttle for the late surgers. And then finally, Aoi Kurian actually is incredible. If you are a free-to-play player and you have a MLB copy of her, and you're struggling to hit SS, she gives a ton of skill points, and that's it really, but that's kind of all you need because her entire card is skill points and you can just buy more skills to help you hit that rating. So it's a option. She doesn't give you really any good hints though. So she's purely for score maxing and giving you some skill points. Again, here's a reminder on the stuff you're looking for on any card that wasn't mentioned. There needs to be more testing on it on more varied cards. So it's just an auto run. It takes you 15 energy and 50 minutes of your time while you're sleeping. So if you want to go test something, well, here you go. And then see for yourself if it works or not. That's all I'm trying to say on this. Now, again, take everything I said with a grain of salt there. The data set isn't large enough to prove that every one of these things actually has a legitimate impact on it or not. So things may be changing and are subject to change in the future. Your final goal for an auto run is basically you want to get 2 stats up to try to boost your rating, and then you greed for SP after that because in general, you're not only just trying to go, first of all, SP will give you rating. It's not the most efficient way of getting a rating. It's a lot easier to get stats up, but you're going to want to run the G1s because you're parenting. Go over that on a later date, but your race schedule basically should be all the G1s. You can run dirt, you can run long, you can run sprint, even if your aptitude is garbage. You will still be flipping. You will probably lose 3 to 4 races, and that's perfectly fine. So just run the full G1 schedule that you've seen. You can go to like uma.guide and go to the Trackblazer thing and just find that G1 schedule. And from there, run the G1s, try to get 2 stats up, which means like grab some speed cards with power bonus and then grab some power cards. Try to get those 2 stats up and then greed for SP after that. Hopefully you hit 600, 600 in stamina guts. There's some ways you can manipulate that with the deck, but after that you should be able to get an SS run. Again, if you're having trouble, I mean, you could just run a Gold City. She has that special buff to her races at the end of the career to get this started, but in general, it's just going to require a lot of tinkering, okay? I know this has been rambling, but this has been the useful part of it. You generally want to stack 2 stats, so you're probably going to run 2 sets of 2, so 2 speed, 2 power, 2 pal, 2 speed, 2 wit, 2 pal, something like that, depending on what you are targeting. Or you can run 2 speed, 1 pal, and 1 bonus of stats. So it's like 2 speed, 2 wit, 1 pal, and a power card, let's say. So it's almost like you're running Grand Live itself. Those are my suggestions just to get you started. Again, like I said, I've only ran like 20 runs, honestly, so far, which I know is a lot, but, and I haven't got much from it, honestly, but this is what's been working out for me. I have about an 80% hit rate for SS at the moment, and I know a lot of people in Lupa have them a lot higher, and if you have the cards, it is relatively easy to hit SS in Grand Live. Here's the trouble. This is what I wanted to talk about, honestly. So all that was kind of to get the useful part out of the way. We are done with, I guess, Umumusume guide content. We are now talking about content creator space and the way you should be, I guess, the way I suggest you should be thinking about this topic in general over the next couple days as the dataset grows. There's a problem with incomplete information, and that is that you don't know everything. Of course, it's rather obvious. The most amount of runs we could have had, no matter what, at time of recording, We've had this for 30 hours, which means that for 50 minutes or 83% of an hour per run, if we are even not sleeping, we have 36 runs each. And I know that combined we have a lot, but I've talked with the people who are aggregating it, and they're not even close to n equals 1,000, which is in general considered to be the start of statistical significance. There's problems with that point, but basically it's where diminishing returns start hitting in terms of sample size. In order to get to the next one, it's like n equals 10,000. And ideally, you want to hit like n equals 1,000 on each of the different data points, which means every single card, which means every single, not necessarily every single combination, but in order to get a good data set, we're not even close to that yet. And it's going to take at least a few days, if not more, for everything to aggregate. And the reason is, again, like a purely random set, the margin for error becomes a rounding error. And in a non purely random set, which is like the one we're talking about, the margin of error is about 3%, which is actually doable. This is all mathematics that is, I guess, above me and above this topic that I've talked about. I do trust it, and I know there's issues with this number, but it's in general been accepted to do so, and we are not there yet. Okay? Here we go. In college, this was kind of beaten down my throat. I try not to do appeals to authority, but I do work in the safety space, and I just want to share this point of history at this point with you. And it's really important, as I do safety stuff too, that I learned about this. This is the Challenger explosion, if you don't know. This was in the 70s, I believe. I don't know the exact time, but I'm not a history person. But the point of it is that the Challenger rocket on re-entry did not survive. It exploded. And the reason was a very particularly thing that was completely preventable. It was a tragedy, of course. There was pressure to get this mission done. There was engineers who cautioned the launch and were wholly against it. And there was reports detailing all of this. And the reason why this happened was there was a bunch of information that showed it should work in theory. Basically, we ran a bunch of tests and the Challenger launch. Like, we're good engineers. Like, United States engineers, even in the 70s and 80s, were really good people. Like, great people, very smart. And they tested things in sequence. We had the Challenger failure was an O-ring failure, basically the thing that seals the struts to the body. That thing failed and it not depressurized. It caused the thing to rip apart. But they tested it. They tested it in heat tests in controlled conditions. It survived. They tested it in cold stuff. It survived. They went and they fluctuated the temperature up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. These are standard tests that we always do. It survived. They ran test launches. Those test launches survived, and there were no failures across the board. Here's the issue. The true launch was never done in a cold environment. They did all these tests in good conditions. They did all these tests on the actual O-ring in theory. They never did a launch test in a cold environment. So when the day came on a cold day, what happened is there was wear and tear on those O-rings, and in the tests, because of the way they were worn out, yes, there was a temperature fluctuation, but there was never a temperature fluctuation immediately preceded by a actual launch. And that was the problem, is that there was failure there. I don't know the 100% specifics, but that's when the tragedy happens. And I'm not attesting that this is at that level. This is just a story at the end of the day. It may not even be a relevant story, but there was a disconnect to the mechanism of failure because everything was tested in theory and not in practice. And it's something that I fall into a lot because I live in the realm of theory and they zoom with stuff. And no, the consequences of this are not life-threatening as the tragedy that happened with the Challenger stuff. It's just something that came to mind because it was literally rammed down my throat in both history class as well as in engineering ethics and stuff as I was going through college, being in the safety field. Again, not an appeal to authority. That does not put me above anybody else. It's a very common thing that's taught for that reason. Despite having all the information available that says, in theory, this is how it should work because these things are happening, until you actually test the thing, you are disconnected from the means that which its mechanism occurs. We know these things in We know these things in independent training. We know how they should be working. We know that, for example, Kittison doesn't seem to work, so surely that means specialty priority is invaluable. But until we started testing and really see that, how could we really tell? And really, until we saw the numbers that say, hey, Kittison Black only gives 32 bonus speed, how do we know that Kittison does not work? And this goes for every single card in the game, every single method that we do. We've not done actual tests, and the data set is not large enough to draw conclusions from it. So everything that is going on right now is disconnected from the mechanism, and it's very possible that mistakes can happen. If we go and we use JP's hindsight in this instance, they've only had it for a month, and there was no testing really done to the point at which it's been public. But even then, a month's worth of testing is on the borderline for how long it would take a general global population to do it. So it's still not enough testing. There's not enough testing available. Again, this is going to be rambling. Sorry about that. We've had it for a day. There's been not enough testing on our end. I've talked with Lupicord. The data set's not large enough. It's growing. They're doing a great job. It's going to take a few days at least to draw some conclusions. And here's the example I want to talk about. This table right here. This table supposedly goes through your aptitudes, the chance of you winning the race, and the chance of chains above 3, 4, 5, and 6, and its modifier, basically. So if you were to run as a GA, 50% chance of winning, let's say, the 10-row show spring, and if it was your third race, you'd have a 0% win rate, for example. Let's just say that we're rather suspicious of this, and it could be multiplicative, but we don't even think it's multiplicative because in empirical testing, at least on my end, and the problem is that there's not enough sample size for this to draw a conclusion, so I cannot prove this to be false or true. We've been running the Tokyo Daishoten with D characters, 80%, on race number 6, over half the time. And sure, it could be multiplicative, but it shouldn't be as much as we've been doing. And we've seen instances of this where this table just looks a little bit suspicious and a little bit incorrect, and it's probably within the realm of correctness. I don't know how else to put it, but we don't know yet. And the thing is that this table has been passed around everywhere. It's completely unconfirmed. And the source is basically, there's an issue. There's been a chain of this table being passed around. Twitter and stuff has been mentioning some global CCs that have done it. I know you know the global CCs that have done it. Do not go and witch hunt them because they don't know where this came from either exactly. And yes, it's probably somewhat true anyways, but it is no fault to them. I want to make that clear. This is why I needed to make this unstructured. But the global CCs took it from the Korean guy that made this thing, who supposedly, after looking into it, took it from some JP sources. And looking back through the chain, there's JP content creators or information dump people that supposedly took it from a database who took it from who knows where. And this chain has many problems with it, and it's more than you think. It's one person to one person hearsay is an issue. When one person takes it from one person, one takes it from one person takes it from one person, there's a lot of situations where there's basically no peer review. There's no community effort to validate, and there's been no evidence that this particular topic has done so, and pretty much anything else that we've taken in this topic has had any form of community validation, which just means that it's up in the air whether or not it's true or not. It's not saying it's wrong at all. It's not saying that anyone's to blame for it. It's just saying that we need time to validate whether it's true or not. There's no final source to it, which is a problem. We can't trace it back far enough to figure out where this thing came from. So this could just be someone in their basement saying, hey, let's put this up and see what happens. This is what I feel. And then everyone goes and makes it loose. And this is the problem, is that now it's had so much exposure where it starts to form authority. It starts to become true despite us not knowing where it's come from. There's no primary source that we found. There's no data behind it that we found. There's no peer review. And that's what Lupicord is trying to do. That's what I'm sure a lot of other people are trying to do with their data analysis, is try to find the data behind it to see how close this thing is. This is just one example in it. I'm sure there's other things that I'm not talking about, but I've already rambled on too much about how this can be troublesome. Not necessarily dangerous, but just know that it's not exactly 100% correct, possibly. When there's no published data behind, it all feels hearsay. That's okay, but yeah, I'd said about that. But this is how JP bias always starts. We've had this in other situations before. I've been criticized for being a global CC. Say my take means less, even though I made mathematics behind it and I tried to show my work, and I'm not right all the way, but I do get that criticism sometimes, and it's a little frustrating, to be honest. But I try my best to at least show my sources so you can agree with me or not. So take this as me complaining about that, but I try not to appeals of authority. I can be wrong, JB. Yeah. Going over all these slides that I wrote before I realized I was going to yap about this for 30 minutes, but take some examples. Remember a couple situations. Everyone can make mistakes too. Remember the Gemini Cup where we had to have 3 recoveries apparently, but then all the people with 3 recoveries lost to the people with 1 recovery that got 1200 stamina, and just like they just had 2 more gold skills, which was a lot back then. Remember the Pisces Cup with a 2.5 recovery situation that we had. This is not any one content creator either. This was on the previous JP meta that was not correct as well. Think about all the times Redshift was recommended as a backup that was kind of flow down through all the CCs in the early champions meetings on all the corner 3 maps because yes, it was a backup, but you put any other Excel and there's no value to Redshift, and it's just a waste at that point because in the global meta, it's different. Everyone's going to have an Excel. They know what they're doing. So if you proc your Excel super late on certain corner 3 tracks, you're not going to be able to win the race even if you do get backup Excel from Redshift. And its value just isn't there in the times it was suggested. These are just some examples off the top of my head, not necessarily that important, but just know that everyone has a perspective. Those perspectives are useful. I don't know how else to say it. It's a very difficult topic, to be honest, and that's why I put the useful stuff at the start, so I can just talk about this, guys. So there's no hindsight to this mechanic. The data set isn't large enough. I said that enough times. I think I'm just repeating myself at this point. That's why I'm kind of going through it. So try to keep an open eye. Don't get biased because of the early information that comes out now. There's value into the perspectives people are having right now. Just know that there may be subject to change as we figure out more things about the independent training mode. At this point, everyone is currently speculating whether they know it or not. This is still fields-based analysis until we have enough data to prove it one way or the other. And when that happens, I will I'll let you know. That's pretty much it. As an example, literally 2 minutes before I did this, apparently you can just run 6 guts cards or 5 guts cards and light hello, and it just works. So yeah, that was not on my docket. This is just things we're going to be able to find here as we test more. It's kind of crazy, the stuff that they're finding right now. So I'm excited to share it with you all. It's going to take a little time. I'll let you know when there's enough data. I know this wasn't typical content and it's like 1 a.m., so I'm just rambling left and right, but I hope you found value at least with the first part, and then you've seen my concerns with the second part and the reason why I am waiting a little bit. So I got a flight to catch, and talk to you later. Burb out.